Integrated Math 2 Worksheet A. Basics of geometry, points, lines, plane, and so on. What are the undefined terms in geometry? What concepts represent the foundations of geometry? Can you sketch the intersection of lines and planes? These questions and much more will be answered by the end of this presentation. Are you ready? Undefined terms. The terms points, lines, and planes are the foundation of geometry, but point, line, and plane are all what we call undefined terms. Okay, how can that be? Well, any definition we could give them would depend on the definition of some other mathematical idea that these three terms help define. In other words, the definition would be circular. Point. A point has no dimension, usually represented by a small dot. So we have point A. The above is called point A. Note the point is represented by a capital letter. Points do not have actual size. So to sketch a point, all we need is to have a dot. And to label a point, we need to use capital letters. So here, example, we have point A and point B. Right? And we say that never use 2 points with the same name, so then we cannot call this point A again. Okay? So on the same plane, we cannot have the 2 points with the same name. Right? Say that a position in space has no side, only location. So for a point, we can have a location. So here we have example of point D, B, and N. Right. So let's do some example with locations. So for example, for point H, we have a location of going 2 to the right and going 5 up. So then point H has a location of 2 and 5. Right, so for example, for point E, we have a location of, my mistake, we have a location of 1 and -5, right? And similarly for point F, we have a location of 2 and -4. Okay, so then all the rest, I would like you guys to find the location for the rest of the point. And I'll give you a minute to work on it, and I'll give you the answers. All right, so here are the answers. Okay, so please double check your work. Okay, so now we're giving you the location of the point or the coordinates of the point, and you need to plot those points. So for example, for J, we have 5 and 10, which means that the x is 5, the y is 10. So this is our x direction, this is our y direction. So we go 5 up 10, so then we label that as our point J. And then for point I is 1, 9. So we go right 1, up 9. So then we have that point, our point I. Right? So remember that in order to call our point, we need a dot and a capital letter. So I need you guys to work on the rest of the points. I'll give you a minute to work on those, and I'll give you the answers. Okay, so here are the answers. Okay, so the next topic is on lines. So that line extend indefinitely and has no thickness or width. So to sketch a line, we using arrows on both ends. Okay, so then this is called line N. Make sure that when you draw, you need to draw the two arrows. And for lines, we can label them as points. So then to name a line, so we can name our line with a lowercase letter. So this is called line N. Or we can use any 2 points on a line to name our line. So then we can name our line AB or line BC or line AC. Or we can go the other way, call it BA, CA, or CB. Right, so we need 2 points to name a line, and make sure that when you draw, when you name your line, make sure that you have the arrow on top. So for example, we call this line AC, and make sure that you draw the 2 arrows, right? And never name a line using 3 points. Okay, so here is an example. I want you to name this line in 5 ways. Right, and then there are more than 5 ways, but these are just the 5. Okay, right, and now the next concept is called collinear points, points that lie on the same line. So for example, we can have a line, and we can have these are your collinear points, so then they all must be on the same line. And non-collinear points, points that do not lie on the same line. So we can have, for example, we can have this line, point A and point B, and we have a point C somewhere here. Right, so here is an example of collinear points. So we said point A, point B, and point C are collinear points. And this is an example of non-collinear points. So point P, Q, and R are non-collinear points. Right, so here is an example. So we have A, B, L, K are collinear point. So we start from B, A, L, and K. So they are on the same line or on the same segment. So then they are collinear. S, M, K. So then F, M, K are collinear. So then I need you to fill in the next line. So Q, M. So we have Q, M. So your answer could be D or Q, M, and B. Right, and the next one, T, question mark, D. So you start from T, and you would go to D. Right, so then this would be A. So then D, T, A, D. Okay, and here is an exercise for you guys to work on to find non-collinear points. So we have B, A, M, and K. So they are not on the same line. Right, and D, M, and K, they are not on the same line, so they are non-collinear. Okay, and Q, M, and we just need another point that are not on the same line. So it could be any point except D and B. Right? The same thing for T and D. So we have T and D. So we could have any point except for A and S to be non-collinear. Okay, so then here is the practice. right? So you see that name a point that is collinear with a given 2 points. So for number 1, we have F and H. So then the answer would be K, right? And I want you guys to do the rest for number 2 through 8 on your own. Okay, let's move on to our next slides. So here's another practice. Name 3 points in a diagram that are non-collinear. Yes. So these 3 are non-collinear, and we could have these 3, right? And we could have these 3. Okay, now for the next concept is segment. See that part of a line made up of 2 points and all points on the line between the 2 points. You can notice that for a segment we do not have the arrow, right? And to write a segment, we see that this segment is DE and there's no arrows on the diagram. Array, part of a line consisting of one endpoint and all the points on the line on one side of the endpoint. You notice that for array, we have an arrow on one end and an endpoint at the other end. And to denote an arrow, we would draw this to indicate that it's a ray, so we call this ray FG. Can you notice that we started with F because F is the endpoint? Okay, and now we're going to an angles. Right, so then an angle is a figure formed by 2 rays with a common endpoint. And the common endpoint is called the vertex. So this is ray number 1 and ray number 2, and this is the vertex. Angles can have points in the interior and exterior or on the angle. So we said points A, B, and C are on the angle. So we have point A, B, and C are on the angle. And point D is in the interior because it's inside the circle, the angle. And point E is the exterior. Okay, now naming an angle. So 1, we can name an angle using 3 points, or 2, we can use just 1 point, or 3, using a number, right? So using 3 points, vertex must be in the middle letter. So this angle can be named as angle ABC. So we can start here, A, B, and C. Or we can start with CBA, right? Okay, and make sure that when you name this, the vertex is always at the center. Right? Or using 1 point. Okay, so then we can name this angle B. Right? But then be careful with this. It said that use this method is permitted when the vertex point is the vertex of one and only one angle. Right? Then B is the vertex of only this angle. It can be called point B, or my mistake, angle B. Okay, naming an angle continue, right? Using a number. So then when a number without a degree symbol may be used as the label or name of the angle. This number is placed in the interior of the angle near its vertex. The angle on the left can be named angle 2. Right? The number 1 letter name is unacceptable when more than one angle has the same vertex point. In this case, use 3 letter or a number if it's represented. Right? So here is an example. K is the vertex of more than one angle. Therefore, there is no angle K in this diagram. Right? So then we must call this angle LKM, right? And then this is PKM, and we have another angle LKP. So actually there are 3 angles here. Right? So there are also angle 2 and angle 3. Okay, and since there's no degree sign, we cannot add those 2 to call it angle 5. Right? Okay, and there are 4 types of angles. Acute angle, an angle whose measure is less than 90 degrees. Right angle, an angle whose measure is exactly 90 degrees. Obtuse angle, an angle whose measure is between 90 degrees and 180 degrees. Straight angle, an angle that is exactly 180 degrees. Okay, right angle. Right, so in order for us to use a protractor, make sure that you line up your angle at one of the ray, and you look for the other ray, and read your protractor. So in this case, it's going from 0 to 90 degrees. So this is a 90-degree angle, and a 90-degree angle is called a right angle. An acute angle is less than 90 degrees. So these are examples of acute angles. So then a 40-degree angle, a 20-degree angle, or a 75-degree angle. And an example on our protractor, we go from 0 to 70 degrees. Obtuse angle is greater than 90 degrees and less than 180 degrees. So here we have 2 examples, and 110 degree and 170 degree, and another one on our protractor. We read from 0 to 120. So this is a 120-degree angle, and it's an obtuse. Right? Adding angle. When you want to add angles, use the notation to make sure that M stands for the measure of an angle. So here we said measure of angle 1. If you add measure angle 1 plus measure angle 2, what is your result? So we have measure angle 1 is 36 degrees, measure angle 2 is 22 degrees. So then we have 36 degrees plus 22 degrees. Make sure that you have the degree sign, so that this gives us 58 degrees, right? Or we can do, well, angle 1 is the angle ADB, and angle 2 is the angle BDC. When you add those 2 angles up, then it will equal to ADC. Right? Okay, so then here is another notation. Postulate the sum of 2 smaller angles will always equal the measure of the larger angle. So here we have the measurement of angle MRK plus the measurement of angle KRW is equal to the measurement of angle MRW. Right, so that's the end of our notes for worksheet A. So your assignment for tonight is on worksheet A, page 1, page 2, and page 3.